we will we'll make
Okay.
Just be mindful that it's towards her.
Yes. All right. Good morning, everyone. Buongiorno. We are here today at Trieste Film Festival. It's the third day since we are here at Journalism Lab. And as young journalists, we are interviewing today Nicoletta Romeo, who is the artistic director of Trieste Film Festival since 2016 and also a collaborator of the festival for almost 30 years. She founded a production company called Mansarda Production in 2012 and produced several award-winning films. She's also the vice president of K.L.A.R.A Cinema, the network that hosts this festival. And she's also artistic consultant for several European film festivals around the region. This is just a short intro about Nicoletta because she's way more than that, and this is why we are so happy to have her, and thank you for being here, Nicoletta. Before giving you the floor, we would like to ask you about why Trieste, as a city that hosts a festival dedicated to Eastern and Central European cinema, and specifically Balkan cinema. Why Trieste? What is the story of this festival, the historical or social background of it, how it started, and what's its mission and vision and reason for being?
Well, Trieste, he's in a very strategic position between East and West, and, until 1989, actually, it was one of the last Western avant-posts, at least in Italy, before the big East, and very close to the Iron Curtain countries, and especially next to Yugoslavia. With Yugoslavia, Trieste has always had a very special relationship, so with a very strong bond, with a very controversial and dramatic recent history, but at the same time with many cultural and economical relationships going on, even smuggling and underground economical relationships, which make these kind of relations so vital and so close. With this position, and it's not just a geographical position, I think it's much more than that. It's a little bit weird, actually, because Trieste is very far from Rome, from any decisional powers in Italy, but it's very close to the Mitteleuropa. So for us, we feel closer to Ljubljana, to Zagreb, to Bratislava, to Budapest, to Prague, than to the rest of Italy. So the culture here is really a mixture between so many elements that come from the historical, ethnical, linguistical, and cultural minorities that make Trieste such a multicultural town, which means, the Greek community, the Jewish community, the Serbian community, the Slovenian one, of course, which is the most historical one. So all these communities, and now, of course, also the Ukrainian community. But not only that, actually, there's also an Austrian community, which is also recent, let's say, vague of people who have invested in this town. So all this mixture of cultures and languages and traditions and habits make Trieste what it is. It is a harbor town, so it's a port town, and as every port town in the world, there is this mixture of elements, and usually these towns are less religious, more lay, with lay values, with the human values that unite all the people, which means more tolerant, more democratic somehow. So the festival was really born here, and it was only logic, to be born here. In Italy, there are so many festivals, sometimes too many, like more than 200, but actually many of them are conceived and organized and thought maybe in Rome or in other big cities, and in the last moment they're like parachuted in a nice sea resort town, because there are also, there's a lot of local tourism, so they profit of this tourism. In Trieste, it's way just the opposite. The core of the festival was born here, and all the people who work for the festival basically have deep roots in this territory. Of course, today it's not just like that. I have many collaborators living around the world, in other Italian towns or in other countries. But the core of the festival is here. So we are in deep contact with the town, with the local businesses, with other, cultural associations, institutions, museums, galleries, shops. So And this is the idea, by the way. I mean, we organize the festival with all these other associations and realities that really help us make the festival, I mean, the way it is today. Yeah, so, and then if you think about when the festival was created, it was a really momentous period in European history because it was 1989. So actually the month after the Berlin Wall was demolished, the festival had his zero edition. And of course it was dedicated to the new Europe. It was only, natural and logic at that particular time of history, not only in Trieste and in Italy, but in Europe, that we felt that, East and West were not so separated, but actually we were, more united than in the previous years, to dedicate this festival to those areas. And so the festival has been like a sort of a snapshot, continuous, on these countries, because through cinema, which is a very powerful tool of investigation and research and a real gaze on all these societies, we have managed to tell the stories of these countries. And especially because I think that in Eastern European films, we can find more elements and stories connected to the societies of these countries than in the Western world. And this is something that I appreciate very much. And to me, it's very important that if I watch a Romanian film, I have to know that it's set in Romania. So Romania does not have to be just a setting, but Romania has to be incorporated in the film. This is just an example, but to me it's very important that the society, I have to know where this film is from, and you have to tell me more about, the country you live in. So, and this is the idea. When we look out from the window, basically people don't have to be afraid of telling whatever story the country is going through without being afraid, even if stories may be ugly. I think about Georgia right now and all the manifestations of the people for a more democratic country. So we have screened documentaries about that, and so the idea is to witness all the changes in this country, and the changes are always related both with the society, with these countries, with the geopolitics, if you like, but also with the changes within cinema. So the research for new languages, new styles, new genre, new cinematographic grammar. So the festival is all that. It's like to be like a catalytic force, to attract, all these films, all these filmmakers that here in Trieste have always found a place of dialogue, basically, even during the Balkanic Wars, in the 90s. Croats and Serbs would come here together, and they could show the films together. They could talk, and with no problem, with no tense atmosphere. The atmosphere was very, pleasant for everyone. I think that the festival contributed a little bit to create this space, which was a safe space, at least for artists, because artists should always find, free zones and safe spaces where to express themselves, where to share, their films, their thoughts, and their emotions. And so also the audience, and I'm finishing, represents a kind of a paramount element right now for the, let's call it, success of the festival. I don't like this word, success, but let's say of this pleasant atmosphere, because without this audience, all this atmosphere wouldn't be possible. So somehow the audience has been trained all these years to see these films, to meet these people, really to get in touch with these cultures. So for instance, Cristi Puiu, Cornel Mundruzo, Jelimi Žilnik, they're superstars in Trieste, and it's wonderful. It's only wonderful that when they come here, they feel so much welcomed and loved.
Thank you so much. We cannot be only grateful for being here and for you creating this international event. We hope this will stay relevant for so many years ahead. And we could talk so much more about the background of everything, but we would also like to hear your personal story about it and your connection to the festival. So that's why we will move to another interesting point.
Yes, which is you, being a woman in a cinema world. As we know, there's still
there is a lot of talk now about diversity, equality, but I think we're still quite far from that. So I would love to hear your experience. How was it as a woman to be in this world that can be very, very brutal? And you started very young, so I would love to hear your experience from the start till now. And do you think there has been change? And do you also feel positive and optimistic to what is the future of female in cinema? And one extra question, because Serbian filmmakers are in this year's focus, which is also quite unconventional because we often don't really talk about, we do maybe talk about Serbia and even Serbian cinema, but not necessarily about Serbian female filmmakers. So I assume that was a deliberate choice, but I would love to hear more from you about that too.
Well, actually, the Trieste Film Festival has a very long tradition of women leadership, because actually my predecessor, and I owe everything to her, was Anna Maria Percavassi, and she was like a pioneer. So she created the festival actually, and I was just a little student, a young student, when I collaborated with her. And she had a strong vision of the festival, representing a unique reference point for all these countries and all these filmmakers. So it's really thanks to her if we exist today. And we should always be grateful to the people who came before us, because there's a path. There's a beginning and there's a development, but there's always a starting point, and the starting point was with her. And she believed in women. She believed in women being able, to create a festival and to lead the festival. And this is a tradition which has stayed. The president of the festival is a woman. The artistic director of the festival is a woman. We have many women in the staff. Actually, the majority of them are women. So yeah, it's a natural tradition. It is deliberate, of course. We are very well aware of it. But at the same time, it only feels natural to go on with women. And I'll tell you why. There's no romantic answer, unfortunately. But when a cultural event is not specifically connected to big money, this is where you will find women. Unfortunately, some cultural events are more powerful. So when there is more power and money involved, you will find more men, basically. So yeah, this is the truth. It's simple, it's ugly, but it's like that. And it would be stupid to hide it. So yeah, basically, and but we have also sort of an internal manifesto, if you like. So we know that we want to, when there are men and women collaborating with us, we always give priority to women if possible. It's also with volunteers or interns from university, because I think that women should really need more platforms where they can learn, be trained, get professional background to be future leaders. They have to start somewhere, and they have to, they need good examples. If they don't have models, where do they learn from? So models and examples are very, very important, I think. And we can do it. It's possible. I have to tell you that I didn't have to fight, to get this post, and it was only natural that, I started here and I'm continuing, and after me there will be other women working in my place. So, it's just a natural process. And as to your very interesting question about the focus on female filmmakers from Serbia, actually, the festival has started devoting a little showcase, which is not actually little, to women filmmakers from Europe, and it's called Wild Roses. We started actually when we were online during coronavirus in 2021. We started with Polish filmmakers, then with the Georgian, Ukrainian, German, and this year it will be, it's been Serbia. This is not the first time that we have been dealing with women filmmakers. Women filmmakers are very much present in all the sections of the festival. But to have the possibility to dedicate a whole showcase every year to a specific country, it's very important, because at the same time you stress, the value and the talent of these filmmakers, and you can really create a debate. Then, I mean, we have done this with the collaboration of the Serbian Film Center, which supported us. So also they promoted the event, which is very important because they were also promoted in their country. Because as you know, it's very easy to be promoted elsewhere, but sometimes in your own country, you know, nemo profeta in patria. While in this case, this event was very much promoted both in Serbia, in Italy, and at the European level. And I think this year, because of all these difficult situation in Serbia and all the manifestations in Belgrade, it was, you know, the right moment actually to have them here and to speak about this, to speak about cinema, to speak about their country, to speak about, you know, their desires and wishes. And it was interesting because a part of them, you know, were part of the diaspora group, so not all the filmmakers are Serbian. They are filmmakers from Serbia, but they're not Serbian filmmakers. So some of them live in Paris, Berlin, New York. So it's important, this double gaze, you know, of filmmakers living in Serbia and filmmakers living outside Serbia. Because actually both, I mean, Serbian and diaspora filmmakers always go back to Serbia to shoot and tell their stories. So this is very important. I mean, to have this internal and external gaze on your own country of origin. So yeah, and this showcase, I mean, we're going to continue it even in the next following years, so choosing a European country every time. And yeah, it's very important, you know, to support women filmmakers in the best way we can. I mean, just to give them, you know, a place, a platform where they can express themselves and talk and share their ideas. I think this is the best, I mean, for them.
Thank you so much for explaining this. I mean, it's the first thing I saw from this year's program when we had our first meeting. So for me, I was like, I'm at home. So it was really, it meant so much to me see it, and also with the protests happening right now, it's something that I think, exactly as you said, it's the right time. So I'm, you know, very grateful for your decision actually, because it's also something that I would like to add. It's very rare to see that in countries that are a bit more oriented also towards the West. It's almost very in common. So we were also very surprised when we actually saw it, and we were like, oh wow, like that's very rare outside of, you know, Balkan territory. So we were like, oh okay, you know, it's very obvious they actually care. I mean, we always knew, but then you actually see these kinds of things and you think about it and you're, wow, it means a lot to all three of us. So, you know, especially as also journalists, but also producers. So it's very nice to actually experience it. But to kind of like summarize it as well, I would like to ask you more, how do you see now the future of the festival and the technology that is over-changing and the political landscape that is sometimes very hard to keep up with it, but also the future of your work as a producer, because you are also worked as a producer and had your film in Cannes and in Venice. So it's like, it's very interesting to me what is your take on that? And how would you describe, or just like, what would be the like kind of the message that you have for example, for us who are, you know, very much at the early stages of our careers entering the industry, although we're very aware of the surroundings, but, you know, what would you appreciate that you heard when you were, I don't know, 25, when you entered the industry? Or yeah.
You know, you shouldn't be afraid of any changes in society or in politics or even in technology, like with AI and all these, you know, new devices that will change, of course, I mean, the industry, but not only the industry, also, you know, everything basically in all sectors, I mean, of the industry. You know, you have to go back to, you know, to the primitive eras when men and women were drawing on the caves, you know, and they were drawing hunting scenes, family scenes, and, you know, prayers to their gods. It's the same. We haven't changed. I mean, basically, we want to hear stories, watch stories, and this has not changed. I think this is a very human need. You know, the oral tradition of stories, the traditions, and really the connection with the past. I mean, every generation should be connected with its past generations and with the future generations. So this is through stories. I think stories are a very powerful tool, you know, to have this kind of connection in humanity. So technology is an aspect that it's always changing. I mean, let's think about 95. I mean, internet changed everything. And then again, I mean, you know, DCP instead of prints, you know, that. But all these changes sometimes are just economical changes. Sometimes they make our life easier, actually, and cheaper sometimes, so it helps. I mean, so we shouldn't be afraid of that. We should concentrate on who we are, what do we believe in, and what we want to do with our lives. And you know, being a producer means to support the filmmakers' visions. So this is very important, to support, I mean, the filmmakers' vision, without thinking about, you know, success or this is very temporary sometimes. So it's really, you should focus on the filmmakers you want to help and promote and support, and the relationship you can establish with them, because these are human relationships. These are not just professional, you know, relationships. And especially with artists who are usually so sensitive and vulnerable and sometimes fragile, they should, you know, be heard, and they should find in a producer someone who really supports their vision and their story. So this, it's about taking care of someone's vision and taking care of someone. Then about the changes, you know, the society of politics, you know, these are all things that we cannot foresee. And of course, I mean, you have to fight every day, because if you are young producers, you will have to fight to find, I mean, basically your place in the world, which is not easy, of course, but you have to fight anyway. I mean, for every job. I mean, even if you are a cleaning lady, or you know, or a teacher, or whatever, you have to fight for a job. I mean, it's not easy. It's not granted. Nobody gives you anything for free. So why in cinema it should be different? And of course, I mean, you should fight for your voice to be heard. If you have new things to say, if you have special messages, I mean, to the world, if you have new things to say, I mean, really, you should find your platform to have your voices heard. I mean, this is it. I mean, then you can make also, you know, films with little money. I mean, making films is not just about money and about funds. It's about really, you know, to find the right partners. I mean, and partners that you like, because I mean, in this job especially, it's so important to find co-producers and partners that you really like and enjoy, because it's a human experience. It's not just a professional one. So yeah, I mean, complexities, I mean, will be there, and obstacles will be there. It's not going to be easy, but you know, you have to, you know, stick together, you know, to unite with people you really like, be loyal to one another, and find, you know, films and visions and filmmakers you really love and appreciate. That's it. Yeah.
Wow. Just listening.
It's like that.
Yeah. It's just listening to you. It all makes sense.
I
For
don't know
me.
if it makes sense, but really, yeah, technology.
Yes.
Technology is technology. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Making films is not about technology. You know. Sorry.
Don't worry. Thank you so much for your time. We will conclude this. Don't worry. Thank you. I think all of us appreciate that you took the time for us, and it was
Of
so
course,
sweet.
I wanted to.
Yeah.
And
see you
and
at
maybe see you
lunch.
later. Yeah, at lunch. Okay.